Hi, this is Joseph Williams, son of John Williams, and you are watching the Nerf Herder Council.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Nerf Herder Council. I am your host, JT. We are live on Facebook and YouTube. We are live at those two locations every other Wednesday at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you are watching on YouTube, don't forget to click that like button and click that subscribe button so that you are notified every time we go live. And don't forget to smash that notification bell as well. That's a big one, too. Don't forget, we are brought to you by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/NHC for your 30-day trial and a free audiobook download. And as usual, you can get your own customizable Nerf Herder Council swag at shop.nerfherdercouncil.com. Let me bring on my brother, my best buddy here, AJ. Our first show of 2023. How's it going?
Dude, it's going great, man. We've had a busy start to 2023, haven't we now?
Little bit. Our buddy Kale's checking in already. Good to see you, Kale. It's a bit late, but Happy New Year. Same to you, bud. Same to you. Hope things are going well over there in Australia. Yeah, we took our last show off because I bought a house, and I was doing all the fun moving stuff, and my podcast desk was delayed. And I didn't get it until yesterday morning, so I had no way to podcast. I had nowhere to do it. So here we are, but I'm all set up, and if I pulled the green screen back behind me, it would look nice and pretty, and you'd see all my music stuff, and But that's not what we do. I have a green screen, so there you go. I'm not cool like you, showing my actual room.
You spent all that time decorating this awesome new space, and no one gets to see it. It's kind of sad, actually.
That is what it is. I technically I could pull the curtain back literally, but who cares? We're talking about Avatar tonight, so I have an Avatar picture for people to look at. So there you go. So you have been busy as well. What have you been up to since we last
Having a social
spoke?
life. We'll just keep it simple. Having a social life.
All right.
Which, it ebbs and flows. It's flowing right now instead of ebbing. So, yeah.
Well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. All right. Well, I also know you've been busy with your job too. You've been an international traveler
and thing. Yeah.
So, but
winning awards, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Award-winning designer.
No.
So, speaking of winning awards, we are going to be talking some Avatar tonight because as busy as we were, we did have a chance over the Christmas break to go check out the sequel to Avatar, biggest movie in history, Avatar 2, The Way of Water. And I know we're like a month late on this or something, but whatever. We didn't do another show, so it is what it is. To start out with, I am an absolutely enormous Avatar fan. So I was a huge fan of the first one. I rewatch it pretty frequently. It's especially great in that VR 3D headset of mine. It looks really cool because I get that some people think it's just like a visual effects dump. But even if that's the case, you can't help but be impressed by the thing. And it looks so cool, and I love the story. I the visuals combined with the story I think are very cool. It's an interesting. It was always an interesting concept to me because, the way it's one of those very rare movies where the best way to watch it is in 3D. I think because the whole point is to be immersed in the world of Pandora, and so when you're watching it in 3D and basically surrounded by that planet and its environments and whatnot, that is, that's the way to watch it to me. Because then you're really fully immersed in this world, and you can really lose yourself in it, which is really the point of the visuals and the story and whatnot. Look at Kale. Dances with Smurfs, you mean? What, dude? Don't be bagging on my movies here, Kale. Come on now. Positivity. It's a new year. New year, new Kale. Let's go. So, so yeah, I'm a huge fan of the original for a multitude of reasons. So I was really excited when this actually finally got done, meaning the sequel, because we'd heard about it forever. And, at some point when something goes on forever, like, Guns N' Roses with Chinese Democracy, you're like, this thing's never coming out, whatever. Okay, Kale's correcting me. He says he's making a South Park reference. Sorry, that I haven't seen South Park in quite a while. I love the show, but I didn't get it. So
Yeah, it's a cultural blind spot for. I'm working my way through it, but I didn't get to the episode that references either.
I messed it up, Kale. I apologize. So, all right. So you just finished rewatching the first Avatar today, actually, to freshen up for the show. So where do you stand on the first Avatar?
Well, like everybody else, my mind was blown back in 2009 when we saw it in 3D, because that was, I don't know if that like pioneered the 3D boom, but it definitely was the biggest 3D movie of all time.
Yeah.
And like you said, like that's the way to be immersed in it. And the fact that it's almost 3 hours long, like the sequel is, they're both around like 2 hours, 40 minutes or something like that. Eventually you do feel like you're in the world just because you spent almost 3 hours in it.
Yeah.
I like the first one a lot. Let's get the elephant in the room right out of the way. Unobtainium was a stupid name.
Yeah.
If you want to say that there's a natural resource that only exists on this planet and we need it bad, okay, great. Just don't call it unobtainium. Like, come on. You're so creative. You built this whole damn world, invented all these creatures in this ecosystem. You've got sequels in mind. It's like you just farted out like 50 feet from the finish line with the script.
They probably didn't even realize it. They get to that line in the script like, we have to collect oh God, we didn't name it. And James Cameron just goes, can't get it, Ian. No, unobtainium. Just go. People won't catch it. Yeah,
Superrarium. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, at least that's better than, the second movie, which is like whale brains or whatever. That was,
That's something we'll get to later. But yeah, so the first movie I thought was there have been allusions to Star Wars, because it's, you get dropped into this thing where the story is kind of ongoing already.
Yeah.
The people have already arrived, avatars already exist, and literally there was a book published on the native peoples of this planet. So clearly the human operation has been going on for some time. And of course multiple sequels were planned, and there was a bigger story, but you just got the first one with the hopes that more could follow if the first was successful. They're both blockbusters that set new box office records. So I get the comparisons, but they're very different movies, and I think it disservices both of them to draw the direct comparison there.
Yeah,
but
I would agree.
Tell me if this is the same for you. After the first one came out and we saw it, how often did you go back and rewatch it? Because the reason I had to rewatch it for this was because I hadn't since it left theaters in its original run.
I do rewatch it every 6 to 8 months or something. Part of it for me is I'm not one of those people that can sit down and watch part of a movie. I'm like do it all in one sitting guy. So when you're talking about a 3-hour movie, it's a little daunting, for me to set aside 3 solid hours to do it. But I have frequently, again, because I just think it's such a unique experience. I think it's, the visuals just have always grabbed me, and I like the story, and so I don't mind setting aside time for that. It's kind of like if I ever really want to just relax for a few hours, I'll just throw on the headset and off we go. So,
it's interesting that Kale brings this up. He says the only thing for me is the 3D doesn't work or gives me a splitting headache, so I'm more familiar with the 2D versions. It's interesting you bring that up, Kale, because in watching it today, I very rarely actually sit down and use my television to watch stuff. I'm usually on the iPad because I'm walking around doing other things it's usually like a kitchen companion while I'm cooking or something. So I did most of my rewatch here on the iPad. And I think that's one of the reasons why I didn't rewatch it originally anyway, is the 3D is so integral to the experience of these movies that when you lose that element, it just becomes another 2D movie. And I don't think it stands out as much against other 2D movies. The 3D is kind of like built into the experience, I think. Do you feel that's true?
I agree with that completely. But the one thing I will disagree with it, and this is, a personal opinion of mine, just my feeling, I don't think that it doesn't when you say it doesn't stand out amongst other like 2D movies, like it's just another movie, air quotes. I would disagree with that because, as I said, to open the show, I really enjoy the story. I think there's a lot of emotion to it, which is really cool for me. I was fully expecting just going into it when, what was it, 2013 or something? It came out 2008. I always draw a blank, but anyway,
2009.
2009. Okay, Samsonite. I was way off. But when I went into the theater, I was expecting basically like Doctor Strange 2, which is, hey, look at all this cool, fancy looking shit we can put on the screen, and not much else. And instead, I was really invested in the story. I was really invested in the characters. I love the concept of it. So, but that being said, I do think that the 3D is integral to the presentation of that movie. So, hopefully, Kale, hopefully it doesn't take anything away from you not being able to watch it in 3D. But, yeah, I would agree with, I would agree with that, AJ, that it's definitely something that you should see in 3D. It's just, it's almost like, what's the term, meta? Like it's talking about like an avatar, like where you're this person, but you go into an avatar to live in this other world kind of a thing. And it's like, would that, I don't, when in Rome, got to be honest, I still don't know what it means. So yeah, I'm not familiar with that term meta, but I think that's what I'm going for. So
one thing I will say for the story, to its credit, in the original and the sequel, I'm looking even at the wallpaper you chosen for this episode. We've got the floating mountains, right? It's one of those things that it wasn't explained, but it didn't bother me. Like, a story's good if you have questions, but you aren't frustrated by the lack of explanation. Like, I don't feel like they just threw it in there without figuring it out. I feel like there is a reason that those things do that, and we just haven't been told it yet.
You know what I think, dude? I think it's like the Force and midichlorians. Like the Force just was the Force. It was cool, like, oh, what's the Force? Like, we don't know, but it's so mystical. And then episode 1 comes along and they're like, oh, it's these microscopic thingies in your blood. They're called midichlorians. Like, damn it. So I think if they were to all of a sudden be like, well, the magnetic pull of Pandora versus the airflow continuum of da-da-da-da-da makes the mountains float. Like, son of a bitch. Like, it kind of, it makes it this, it adds to the otherworldly experience of seeing these things and experiencing these things and, everything kind of being its own intertwined ecosystem no matter where you go. So I don't think it needs explained. I hope they never do. And knowing James Cameron, I would think he wouldn't, specifically because of examples like, midichlorians in Star Wars. So, when
you explain things too much, you run the risk of pissing off the audience, because if it's a mystery, then people get to play along with you. But if you explain it, much like, my rant on Boba Fett, if you do explain it to the audience, it better pay off, or else you're going to have a whole faction of fans that are just pissed because they prefer not knowing versus knowing and being dissatisfied.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of stuff about the world of Pandora that I find intriguing, and we don't know, even after 2 movies, where it's going or how it works, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Like I think it's a fascinating enough place. I don't need to know how it works and all the inner workings of things.
Yeah, I think the mysticism of it is more than enough. It just, Pandora just is like that. That's just how it is. We don't have to know the nuts and bolts. It's like that. And to me that's pretty cool, because it almost makes it more realistic. Because as soon as you start explaining things, then you can start more easily explaining things away. Oh, that would never happen. Oh, that. But if you just go, no, it's Pandora. This is the world you're in. This is how it works. Like, you can't dispute it because this is how it is. So, I like that they don't explain it, and I'm glad that they haven't, and I hope that they don't. But I guess we'll see, considering the fact that there's 3 more sequels coming out. So, I will say that before we start getting into Avatar 2 here in just a second. I have no idea what the hell they're going to do story wise. I'm fully expecting it to jump the shark and shit the bed, sooner rather than later. I think so.
It's just Captain Planet broken into 5 movies, dude. And the first one was Earth, and the second one was water. The third one's going to be fire, and then we're going to get air, and then we're going to get heart. It's Captain Planet's going to come save Pandora at the end of the quintilogy.
Wait, are you being serious? Are the next ones like fire and earth or something?
That's kind of the way it's going. Like, this was the forest tribe. Then we got the water tribe in 2. They've already confirmed that it's going to be some sort of like fire-based something in the third one. So they're just going to introduce different like factions or breeds of Na'vi until they all probably have to come together for some climactic battle in the finale, I think.
Interesting. Yeah, let's get into it. I mean, Avatar 2 kind of, if you like the first one, I don't see why you wouldn't like the second one, because it kind of revisits the same storyline. It's, Na'vi versus
That's a very
humans.
political way to put it.
I mean, it's Na'vi versus humans, and I didn't mind it, and I think the reason I think I would have minded it if it was a different kind of movie, but because I love this atmosphere and environment, and again, the world of Pandora so much, I think I was like, okay, cool, I'm in for seeing 3 hours and 15 minutes more of this. But I think going forward, if they're just gonna, like in every single movie, there's another human. It's like Na'vi versus humans. I'm like, for the love of God, like there's got to be something you could switch up here. Like, there's got to be. So I'm hoping that this is, one of those things like the original trilogy for Star Wars, where it's one story. He wrote one story. He's like, crap, and chopped it into 3 pieces. I'm hoping he had one story and then chopped it into 5 pieces. So
yeah. It depends. So yes, the first movie was the biggest box office in history. Great. And apparently this one took so long to produce and was so expensive that it also kind of needs to be in order to turn a profit, which I think is ridiculous because I just checked the box office. It hasn't quite cracked 2 billion yet, actually. It's standing at 1.928 billion worldwide. So it might just eke over the 2 billion mark, which would still be short of the original, still be an insane, like inconceivable amount of cash to any normal human being, and it might still not be profitable enough to keep the series running for the full 5 movies. Isn't that crazy?
I thought they already confirmed that all 5 were happening. I thought he was like filming stuff like kind of concurrently, like a Lord of the Rings type of thing. I thought I read that somewhere.
They're working on 3. They did 2 and 3 concurrently in parts. And that's the nice thing, actually, is even though the settings are so wildly different, it's a bunch of mocap. So as long as they got the actors and the suits, they can film 15 movies simultaneously and just fill it in with CG later, right?
Right.
But yeah, so a $2 million movie, and all they've really said is that they're starting work on 3. But if the box office keeps waning as the cost of the movies keeps increasing, they might not do 4 and 5. So they've kind of built in a what they call it, a back door or a trap door. So if 3 doesn't quite pay out, then they can end the series at 3 and not do 4 and 5.
Yeah,
it's hard, man. I don't know how you even write a story like that. So you write a conclusion that could also not be a conclusion.
Yeah, God, I don't know.
Like, can you think of another series or series of movies or TV shows that has had to do something like that?
There's got to be something we're not thinking of, because that sounds like something that would have happened.
Like, I've heard that Babylon 5 did that back in the day, because they got picked up on a season-by-season basis, so there was always, like, they could just end it there, or they had some unresolved plot threads that they could, like, pull forward if they needed to, if they got a chance.
Okay.
But that's so weird, man.
Well, I hope...
Gale, the Terminator.
Well, yeah. Actually, that's the one. If you're gonna mention something, hell yeah.
That should be the tagline of every Terminator movie. You thought it was over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. You said it was over.
Yeah, you told me that, asshole. What am I supposed to think? Yeah. Well, I mean, so back to the plot. I mean, it is, I think, we could say it's a little derivative of the first one. But again, I was okay with that because I like, being part of that world. And, it's such a long movie. It is 3 hours and 15 minutes. And I noticed that there was a lot of exposition, specifically like when they get to, the village of the Water Tribe. There's a long sequence of them kind of like getting, to learn how to swim and do all the underwater stuff. And, it's pretty lengthy. And I started thinking like, do we need all this? But then when I started thinking back on that, after we left the theater, I was thinking, we kind of do. Because if you just have them show up and like, oh, I can't swim, and then you show them dicking around in the water for 5 minutes and all of a sudden they're like pros, you're like, what the hell is that? So I think it is kind of necessary. So, and it didn't bother me in the moment. Okay.
I like that because in rewatching the first one today, from the very moment that Jake Sully wakes up in his avatar, he's already fine. Like 2 minutes later, he's out of the pod. He's out of the lab. He's running through the field. He's like fully agile in this thing. And mind you, this is a guy whose legs have been paralyzed for God knows how long. And he's able to run around in this 10-foot tall avatar like he's a fucking gymnast. So I like that they took some time in this to be like, yeah, we suck at swimming. We haven't had to do that before. Let's take some time and figure out how to swim, guys, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I just thought it was necessary in hindsight. It's part of the world building, I think, and it shows, what they were actually up against. I mean, the part that got lengthy to me was the end. I mean, that would be, if I had a critique of the movie, was that it's got like 17 damn endings. It's like, all right, it's over now.
That fight just never fucking stopped.
Yeah. It's like, all right, it's over. Oh, no, it's not over. Oh, okay. All right, there it goes. Oh, no, it's still going. I was like, after a while, I was like, holy shit, end the movie. Like, not because I wanted it to end, but I was like, okay, enough. Like, this is, what did you say? It was like Return of the King? And at least Return of the King was like the end of, this huge, enormous thing. And it's like, okay, that you can get. Like, when you've gone through, especially if you're watching like the extended versions, like 10 and a half to 12 hours of this whole thing over 3 movies. If you have a big, gigantic ending, you kind of want that, I mean, it's kind of like when we were a kid playing Nintendo games, and you'd take forever beating one game to get to the end and be like one screen, like, oh, you're the hero, you did it, end credits. Son of a bitch, that's all I got for all that work?
Yeah.
What the hell is
Thanks
that?
for playing.
Yeah, exactly.
Damn it.
Oh, come on! There it is.
I think first time in a while. First stereo "Oh, come on" in history.
I think it was. Where's Joseph Friend when we need him?
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
no.
Yeah.
So I think that's where the extra 30 minutes of runtime came in with this one, because in rewatching the first one, the end battle takes place and like dude takes a couple arrows to the chest and it's over, and I was like, oh shit. I was expecting like 3 more climaxes after that. That was really it. You crash the dude's ship, you shoot him with 2 arrows, and we're done.
Yeah.
This one's like, oh yeah, you shot him down, but there's a big ass whale and there's other people coming too. Oh, okay, so we got out of that stuff. Oh, but now they're trapped in the ship and now they're gonna drown. But wait, we fished them out of there. Oh, the bad guy came back again. Now they got to fight a 3rd time, and Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So
why won't you die?
Who throws a spear? Honestly, and that's something I want to bring. You talk about like the giant whale and stuff like that. I wonder if me being so attached to these movies is because animals play a big part. I think. You kind of, I know when they're flying around and I'm like, oh, don't shoot down the big pterodactyl, and then, you've got these giant ass whales and, I'm just kind of sitting there like, oh God, don't let something happen to the whale. Like when they're, they're actually whaling in this movie. And, You just
That was hard to watch.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the environmental commentary is not subtle, and it's pretty gripping, I think. I mean, I've seen some people comment that they think it's heavy-handed, but I don't get that. I just think it works well, considering the point of the movie is that Pandora, everything is connected, and so I think that's where that comes from, and I think it makes sense. And so to have all the environmental stuff and the animal things, and it was like you said, you said it perfectly. It was really hard to watch when they were hunting that whale, and then when they finally kill it and stuff like that, it's just like, oh my God. And then all they're doing is just go into its mouth and drill up into its head and get like some brain oil out of it to sell. It's like super expensive, and it basically makes humans like live forever and whatever. I'm like, oh my God. And then they one up it later with the freaking mom whale and the baby whale.
Oh God, yes.
I was like, are you shitting me, James Cameron? What the hell? Good Lord. All right, where's the Navi puppies you're about to blow up, and Navi kittens and every cute Navi critter you can think of, and they're all just getting decimated. Why don't you just do that? Make that your next move. Like, what the F, dude? Like, that was difficult.
Yeah, Avatar 3, it's a wildlife sanctuary for disabled animals, and of course it's fire themed, so they're just gonna get roasted alive. We're just going to watch 30 minutes of gimpy animals running around on fire.
It's that might be the most horrible thought we've ever brought to this show.
Right?
It really might be.
This like just a day after Lego revealed that disabled dachshund with the wheel cart for legs on the back.
Oh, and the sad face.
Yeah.
That, oh my God, that's like, Lego, what are you doing?
But yeah, that whaling scene, like, we know we're watching nothing but pixels. It might as well be a Pixar movie. And yet, oh my God, that was so hard to watch.
Yeah.
Like, and they dragged it out because it took them like 5 to 10 minutes just to like get the thing like surfaced so they could land the killing blow. And you're just watching this thing in this protracted agony.
Yeah.
Wow, man. Like,
that definitely felt like a Clockwork Movie was so with your eyes paced. Held open.
Yeah, exactly. But I guess everything's relative though, because when you got 3 hours and 15 minutes of runtime to fill, a 30-minute conclusion is no big deal. A 10 to 15-minute whaling scene is no big deal. Spending over an hour just watching people learn how to swim and bask in the majesty of the oceans of the world isn't that big of a deal. Like, right. That's the thing. Like, almost half the movie is just spent like being on Pandora and checking out these visuals, and I don't mind that at all. I thought that was fantastic. Actually, it was breathtaking.
Yeah,
like to the point where apparently it's all CG, I guess, except for any actors that are doing motion capture. Mm-hmm. I couldn't tell. They talk about that uncanny valley where something is like photorealistic, but there's something off that you just can't quite pick out that frustrates your brain and makes it unnerving. I feel like there's a lot more of that in the first one than the second one. It was mind blowing for the time, but there was still like some stuff where you're like, I know there's something not right there. I can't quite fully buy into this.
Right.
The second one, I was really having a hard time. My hard time with that one, my uncanny valley, was believing that it wasn't real. Like watching the water effects and the way the light refracted and just all the detail. Oh my God! Like. It's only 13 years later, which is, I guess, eternity in technology terms. But for how good the first one looked, I didn't know they could do so much better on the second one.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, like, when people are sitting here like bitching about the movie, it's like the story isn't so bad that it takes you out of being into the visuals, I think. Because, I watch it for the visuals and the story. I said that already. But I can understand if some people are like, oh, because some people are complaining about the visuals. You could tell when it's a frame rate this and frame rate that. I'm like, shut up. Like, seriously? Just shut up. And I hate that crap. Like, you can't. Just enough. You're not a cinephile. You're just an asshole trying to make a cool point online. Anyway, I can understand if people are bitching about the movie because the story gets so bad that you're like, wait, what is that? It's kind of like when you're listening to a song, the music's cool, and you're not really listening to the vocals, and all of a sudden, like, he rhymes strife with life, and you're like, wait, what? Huh? What? Oh man, what? Oh,
Yeah,
and it like takes you out of it. But I don't think that this story does that. I thought the story was perfectly fine, and I mean, are there imperfections in it? Sure, but I think you're so immersed in the world, and you're just kind of going along with, the environmental aspects of things in Na'vi versus humans, that it doesn't detract from it. I mean, Cale says it right here. He says, yeah, well, half the point of these films is the "can you people stop being crappy by nature, please" angle. Yeah, like and that's what it is. And I mean, I think they do a really great job of drawing you into the emotional aspects of the story. And for something that's 100% computer generated, pretty much, I think that's a pretty great accomplishment, because there have been other movies in the past that have really, really relied on CG for main aspects of the story, and it kind of you can't get past the CG, or the story's poor, and this doesn't have either of those. So as you said, I mean, that's what I wanted to see, is like how the water looked. It's like, how do you CG water? Like, that's supposed to be like one of the most impossible things. I mean, and the fire. I mean, fire too is, can look a little wonky, admittedly, and it just looked incredible. But again, I was sucked in by the story. It was, them having a family, and then, I mean, and that's the other thing is like, and maybe that kind of beefed up the emotional aspect of it, is they really played up the family aspect of things. So I thought they upped the ante from, instead of it just being, okay, well, save the environment, to save the environment, family is everything, and you're like, oh shit. So
I was really glad they brought that in, because if there's a weak spot for me in the first movie, it's Jake Sully. I just don't like the guy. He's just not that compelling to me. So to shift the focus to Neytiri and their kids, I was like, yes, give me some new characters to follow, because I just never got into the main character of the first one. I loved everything else, actually. So that dodged a nice little low point of the first film for me. And yeah, bringing in the kids, I was like, you knew as soon as they brought in the kids, you're like, okay, someone's not making it out of here. I thought it was going to be Sully. I thought it was going to be Sully, even though he's narrating the whole damn thing, which means he's got to survive, which, I didn't realize until after the fact. But I was like, oh, it makes perfect sense that he's going to make the ultimate sacrifice to save his family. The way he's harping on family. Did not expect that it was going to be one of his kids that gets it.
Yeah, I did not either.
Did that hit you harder?
Yeah, it was pretty brutal, because they do such a good job of building up the emotion of it. I was sucked in again by the whole nature thing and the animals and whatnot, but I mean, it's not only is it's one of their kids, but I mean, it's he had a close relationship with his brother, and so he had the brother thing going on, and that always gets me for obvious reasons. And it's like it's just, there was a lot of heart to it, and as much as I expected that to happen, when he got hurt, I was kind of like, okay, well, maybe he'll make it through. Maybe this is going to be one of those, like, what's it called, a red herring or something, where you think something's going to happen, it doesn't. What? Okay, yeah, like maybe it'll be like a red herring or something. God, this is a friggin' NHC record. I use 2 hipster terms in one episode. I don't like using those at all, much less twice. But yeah, I expected it, but kind of didn't when it happened. So, but I think you kind of have to have that. The stakes are pretty. The stakes are pretty high. So I think in order to move the story along, I mean, maybe you could have waited until the next movie or something, because they did just introduce the kids. But
well, we're talking about 4 sequels, and they have 4 kids, so maybe they're just not going to have a family by the end of it.
I'm so glad you said it because that was going to be the next thing out of my mouth. I did the math. I'm like, they have 4 kids and one of them died. They got 3 movies left, 3 kids. Like, this is going to get dark.
To the 5th one. They're going to be out of ideas like Unobtainium. It'll be like Avatar 5. The daughter gets it. Like, we gave up, guys. You know what's going to happen. There's only one of them left.
It's just like a 10-minute movie. It happens in like the first 2 minutes, and then Jake and Neytiri are just like, F this, and then they off themselves. You get the credits. They just quit the whole fight.
That's dark.
Yeah, they just make
shit.
It's just like a short, and they basically the trailer is like 1/5 of the whole movie. So
Wow, my punchline to that was going to be they look at each other and just decide to tour the world because they realize they're free of children now.
Now James Cameron's going to try and top the Mist for darkest movie ending ever. Just shit on the audience.
By the end of it, he's going to be so sick of making these movies and be like, fuck you. I want to make sure none of these ever happen again.
I'm turning your asses into blue and green goo.
Avatar 6, fuck you.
Look at this, Kale. He says, not gonna lie, the next one is called The Tulkun Rider, and I thought it was called The Tusken Raiders.
They've already announced the title of the next one?
I think they've announced.
It's not coming out for a few years, right?
Well, I want to say they've announced titles for all of them. I thought there's a lot of information out there about the forthcoming movies. But yeah, going back to the kid dying, it was I understood it. Again, I thought it would be something they might wait for a later movie to do, but I can understand why they would, and it kind of it gives some weight to it, I think. So and again, it ties in with them really getting you to buy into this thing, and going into the 3rd movie, now that this isn't just because in a way the family in this one was kind of like idealistic, and here's Jake and Neytiri, and they've got 4 beautiful kids, and their family is just perfect, and Grace is basically the magic mother of the one daughter, and now going into the 3rd movie, you're like, okay, well now they've got actual scars, like everything's just not all perfect, and something happened, and they have heartbreak, and they've got grief and things to deal with. So I think that adds another layer to the characters. Did you find those titles, by the way?
I did not find the titles. I found some other stuff on Avatar 3.
Okay.
It confirms fire, 2 new creatures. They say they're going to bring back Payakan and his nemesis Scoresby. Those are the whales, right? The thumbnail has a picture of the whales, so I'm guessing those are whale characters. So I guess the whales are back in Avatar 3. So that's cool. It's set for release on December 20th, 2024.
Okay.
And filming completed back in 2019 with the filming of Avatar 2.
I was going to say, I thought they did like things at the same time.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why it's not going to cost as much, and it'll be a little safer because they did it all at once and they spent all the money already. Now it's just paying for post-production.
And Sully's surviving son is going to be the narrator of this one, not Jake Sully, which good, because that at least puts Sully's fate in doubt.
Huh. Interesting.
So yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. Maybe that's how they're going to push the story forward. Maybe it's going to be they're not just going to keep rehashing. Oh, Jake's the leader guy. Jake's the leader guy. Jake's the leader guy. It's going to be his family or something like that. So
yeah, maybe it's a passage of time where like Jake is older and it's time for his son to step up. I don't know.
Yeah. So, but did you have any? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was going to pull it back to this movie since we're already on to the next one.
Yeah.
So what did you think of? I mean, one of the biggest things about Avatar in general is, like we said, it sucks you into the world, right? Like it's such this. It feels like a real place where it's got a real ecosystem and things are really thought through. So, how did you feel about how they evolved the visual language of Pandora by introducing the water tribes and all the aquatic creatures and whatnot?
I thought it was cool. I mean, it's it's like a Star Wars movie. You got to have you kind of have a blueprint in your mind of how the story is going to go and what it's going to be about in general. So you kind of need the environments to set it apart from other films. And I think that this one, that's, the logical step is like, hey, you've seen this, now here's this other different thing. So I thought it was really cool. I thought it was interesting, and I again, it presented a new set of challenges, which to me was a lot of fun. Because it's, the water is not their environment, so they don't know what's down there. They don't know how to fight against it or to work with it. So it added a certain level of tension to things, and it freshened things up. And I mean, as we've already discussed, I mean, it looks unbelievable. I mean, I could watch these movies on mute damn near. It just looks so unbelievably freaking cool. I mean, it doesn't hurt that my two favorite colors are blue and green. So basically, I've got like entire 6.5 hours of movies that are done in nothing but my favorite color palette. So that doesn't suck. But I mean, I thought it looked incredible, and I can't wait to see what they do with the next one, because it was exactly what I hoped it would be, only on steroids. So I'm assuming that 2024 is going to be kind of more of the same. What about you?
I agree. Some people would say it's a complaint, but I think it's just fine that it's almost video gamey, right? Like you're on the next level of the same game. So here comes, it's like taking that sprite that's like blue in the first one and just putting the green palette on it instead. But having just a few different details. I love the way they had like the fins and the webbed fingers going on, and just a little bit more fish-like, but still looking like a Na'vi.
Yeah.
So they weren't like completely foreign creatures, but I think that's really cool how we haven't quite done it so much as humans, but I like this idea that different creatures of the same species can live in different environments. And a lot of animals have done this, where they evolve like differently based on where they are. They have natural adaptations. So I thought that was a really cool way to pull the Na'vi more into like the animal realm than the people realm, which really reinforces that whole nature and people connection thing.
Yeah.
So I thought that was great, and it was just different enough that when the water people weren't getting along with the forest tribe, it kind of made at least a little bit of sense, where you're like, yeah, they're kind of outsiders, and the Na'vi are xenophobic by nature.
Yeah.
They didn't like the humans showing up in the first place, and they're all segregated from each other because they just don't like each other. So I think that's kind of cool. Like that. Okay, talk about getting meta. So it's not just like, oh, it's an environmentalist movie because it's talking about how bad it is that the machines are coming and tearing down nature. It's also like a racism allegory too, because it's like, hey, you're blue and we're green. We don't like you.
Yeah.
Like, really? Because we're kind of the same. So, yeah, I think it was great. I'm really looking forward to finding out what these other tribes are like, and I just hope it doesn't get like too ridiculous by the end, where everyone's a very distinct color. We're like, oh, we're the purple guys. Oh wow, we're the red guys. At some point they've got to rein it in a little bit, but it's still fun for now. I think it's cool.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
I did find the titles. Kale was asking about this in the chat. He said they were all announced. They're not really announced, but MoviePhone picked it up. We got this. MoviePhone's still a thing, apparently.
Welcome
CBR.com. Right. The title you are looking for is... So, yeah, a whole bunch of websites ran with the same story. So we've got The Way of Water, The Seed Bearer, The Tolkien Raider, and The Quest for Eywa. Oh, yeah, Tolkien Rider. Sorry. See, I screwed it up with the damn Tuscans.
So Tolkien Rider is the fourth one?
Yeah.
And what's the third one?
So I guess the Seed Bearer. So I guess the daughter gets knocked up in this one.
I was just about to say, is this the Avatar porn?
Right?
They're just gonna.
Well,
they're just gonna.
They're pretty scantily clad already.
they're going to encounter like the fire is going to be like they're like living in a volcano or something, and all of a sudden, like instead of those cool little tails that just connect, like they're actually like these big swinging dicks hanging around everywhere. like, good Lord, James Cameron, what are you doing,
dude? So I had that one gross thought when I watched the first one today, when Jake and Natiri hook up under the tree of life. I'm like, first of all, under the tree of life, man, jeez, that's it's like fucking in a church, you just don't do it. But also, I'm like, what is foreplay even like? Like you're basically naked all the time. Like all she's got to do is pull her little bead necklace to the side, and she's basically naked. So, I mean, no wonder you get right down to business.
Well, do you need foreplay when you're looking at naked boobs all day? Think about it.
I don't know. It's kind of commonplace at that point. We're staring at Cedar Point, and how many roller coasters do you ride in a year?
It's true. God, boy, oh boy, we're getting gross on this show. Woo! Welcome to a new year, everybody. Yay! Yeah.
Same old NHC.
Oh, I love it. It's like fucking in a church. Oh, that's fantastic.
I just wonder how long they can stretch out. I'm glad he had the story in mind from the start, because we've already had 2 movies. You mentioned how like the general plot is basically the same between the two. If it's just a third movie of another environmental problem that the humans just want to come and wreck, it's gonna get a little tiresome. So I hope he's got more stuff in mind for the subsequent sequels, because I think we've played out the whole mankind is bad and nature should triumph message.
Yeah, I mean, how big can you take the conflict? I mean, are they going to try and do something where it's there's actually a bigger reason why they want Pandora? Like, hell, they just were talking about Earth is basically used up, so they're going down that road. They're talking about that in the second one. So okay, well, that's pretty extreme. So yeah, what are the stakes going to be? Again, that's why I really hope that they gotta hate it.
It's meta without even meaning to be. See, Pandora is the Ukraine, and mankind is Russia.
Oh boy.
It's just a bunch of natives trying to defend their homeland and a bunch of invaders that won't fucking stop.
Okay.
There we go. We just got political on the show. Sorry. But no, seriously, like I was thinking about that. I'm like, okay, so basically the humans can just keep sending more machines. Yeah. The Pandorans aren't ever getting off of Pandora to go attack and really like end the threat. So how does this wrap up? They've got to reach a peace settlement at some point, I think, right?
You would think so. I mean, maybe that's what it is. Like maybe, instead of them, coming to the planet and saying, "Oh, we need the unobtainium," or the whale brain crap. Like maybe it's it's all of a sudden it's going to be, well, mankind needs a new planet. Like maybe it's going to be like everybody go to Pandora. Like that's the new Earth. I mean, maybe that's.
That'd be interesting because they can't breathe the air.
Yeah,
but they'll probably find a way around that.
Well, of course. That's, part of the technology.
In the first one, when they were talking about gassing everybody, I'm like, you know what they should do? They should invent a gas that converts the atmosphere into breathable air for the humans. So it just gasses out all the Na'vi while also making it breathable for the invading forces at the same time. Like 2 birds, 1 stone, man.
That would be too easy, wouldn't it?
Pure genius. Yeah.
Look at Kale. Welcome to the first episode of 2023. Here we discuss burning disabled animals, sex in a church, and the Russia-Ukraine war. Man, someone's just tuning in right now and they see this. They're like, what in God's name? We are so getting reported. Whew.
NHC, we are the zeitgeist.
Yeah. Damn it, that's another one of those cool terms. Yeah, but I mean, in a nutshell, we'll close up shop here pretty soon, but I loved it, and I can see why some people might have some criticisms of it, being that it is fairly close to the first movie in terms of the plot line, but I thought it was just different enough that it was cool, and they brought some nice new elements to it. And again, the visuals, I mean, the visuals are, as I stated earlier, there's not really many movies where the visuals are so important. Even stuff like, Star Wars and Marvel, it's like, yeah, you have to have those crazy fight scenes and the incredible multiverse graphics, and like in Star Wars in the prequels, you've got to have Coruscant and all these crazy looking things. Yeah, but you're still more focused on the story. Whereas Avatar has created this weird thing where the visuals and the environment are just as important as the story, and it's such a cool presentation. So, for that reason, I was totally on board, and I hope they do make all 5. I hope it doesn't become a situation like you talked about earlier, that if the third one doesn't really go as well as they hope, that they're going to end it there. I'd watch 3 more of these movies. I think they're really, really entertaining, and I like the message, and it's just a unique experience, a unique movie experience, and I hope it continues. So, what are your final thoughts on Avatar 2?
I'll piggyback off of you. Yeah, I mean, for one, you said you love the story, and I think we can thank James Cameron for these big effects blockbusters being so huge after the first one, that this one had to have more story in it, because the visuals aren't as breathtaking as they were, because we've already seen breathtaking visuals from the franchise.
Good point.
So I love that they built on the story. I love that he's got a general arc in mind, because not naming names, but we know what happens when you start doing a series of movies without the full sequence mapped out ahead of time. Harry Potter.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I didn't think I was going there, did you?
Was Harry Potter like that too?
No, that's just my theory.
Okay.
Just trying to poke the bear a little bit. But yeah, so I like that there's a clear direction here, and I mean, I'm excited to. Here's my question for you to wrap up with: how many times have you seen Avatar 2, and are you intending to see it more before it leaves theaters?
I only saw it the one time, but I am planning on seeing it again, because Steph, my wife, has not seen it, and she likes the first one. So I definitely want to take her. And also, again, it's the 3D experience, and it's like, as much I love watching it in my headset, don't get me wrong, and I can watch it on the TV itself, because I've got a 3D Blu-ray player as well and a 3D television. But there's something about being in the theater for that experience. It's just so cool. And this is one of those movies that's meant to be watched that way. Where, kind of like, Top Gun Maverick, where Tom Cruise had that little message before the movie played in the theater, like, hey, thanks for coming out. This movie and this type of movie is meant to be seen on the big screen. So thanks for coming out and supporting it, And I think Avatar is the same way. So yeah, I'm definitely going to. I mean, I actually just looked yesterday to see if it was still out in 3D, because that's when I'll stop going. If I have to see it in 2D, then I'll be like, now just wait, for the 3D Blu-ray and fork over whatever that's going to cost and add it to my collection. So, but yeah, I'm planning on seeing it again. What about you?
I agree with you. I agree with you. This is one of those movies that, we love going to the theater anyway as an experience, but this one in particular with the 3D, especially because I don't even have a 3D TV and they don't sell them anymore, so I'm just SOL. I love movies that are designed to be seen in a movie theater.
Yeah.
We've got so many entertainment options at home. I love that they're still doing things that make you go to the theater to see them. So yeah, I'm gonna plan another trip to the theater at some point. Keep me in the loop on when you're going. Maybe we can pair up on that. But yeah, I think this is a fantastic movie, and $2 billion is about what I would expect for the box office on it. And I just hope it's enough that they keep it going. Otherwise, we're just going to get a 6-episode Disney Plus series.
Very nicely phrased. That was good. Great way to close up shop for the night, as it were. So, man, it's good to be back on, dude. So, sorry for not being ready a couple weeks ago, but my furniture wasn't here. So, thanks for being patient with me. Thanks to all you people listening and viewing the show for being patient as well. We will definitely be back in 2 weeks. So that will be February 1st. So Wednesday,
Yes.
February 1st, 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube and Facebook. So again, if you're watching on YouTube, click the like button, click the subscribe button, smash the notification bell, do all that fun stuff. If you want to check out audio replays of the show, just Google Nerf Herder Council, and you can rewatch or re-listen to, any show that you want. I'm doing a fucking great job in this outro. You can tell I haven't done this in a month. Just Google Nerf Herder and watch and listen to us wherever the hell you know all that shit. So yeah, it's just fun, dude. So I will keep you in the loop on Avatar 2, and then we'll be talking about some other nerdy stuff here coming up in 2 weeks, which Kale says, don't do anything too cool. I'll probably be missing that one. Oh, that sucks. Well, we'll try, Kale. Oh wait, AJ, wasn't that supposed to be our James Bond episode? I think we were doing James Bond that one. I thought
think
that was
so.
Oh
I think
yeah,
so.
that's right.
That'll be a fun one anyway. I will be ragged as hell for that one
Why?
because I'm going to be on French time, because even though I'm not going to France for work, I am having to participate in meetings all day long for a week as though I was in France. So my work day is going to be 2 a.m. to 11 a.m. that week.
Wow.
So yeah. Thursday at 8 p.m. is going to be rough for me. That's basically 4 a.m. by my body clock at that point.
Well, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Look at Kale, you turd. I couldn't resist, Kale. I couldn't resist. And Joseph Friend, right as we're closing up shop, Joseph's Friend, you like
Yeah,
this movie?
great timing, dude.
Man, oh man, we are just jumping out of here, dude. Yes, we loved it. We loved it. So, well, cool, man.
To quote Psycho Circus from Kiss, though, Joe, welcome to the show.
Yeah, go AJ. Keep coming up with excuses not to record a Sweet Trek podcast.
Oh, cool. I can tweet those out then, yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, and it continues. All righty. Well, I guess I'll see you in 2 weeks, everybody. So thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Nerf Herder Council. Don't forget, we are brought to you by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/NHC for your 30-day trial and a free audiobook download. And don't forget to go get some customizable Nerf Herder Council swag at shop.nerfherdercouncil.com, and go check out the new episode of Bad Batch, because the new season has been kick ass so far. So until next time, I'm your host, JT at Dog Pound Jedi. He is AJ
At Drake Adams 579.
and we will catch you next time.